Now, I've said a couple of things that empathy isn't as I define empathy. First, it's not sympathy. When we give sympathy, we're talking about ourselves. When we're empathically connected with other people, we're focusing on what's alive in them. I've also said that empathy is not saying I understand. It's demonstrating understanding through our non-verbal communication or through verbally reflecting our understanding. Empathy is not giving advice, and empathy is not correcting. So if somebody says something, they're upset about something, and they say, "You had no right to do what I'm upset about." And what if we didn't do what they said? It's very tempting to want to jump in and correct the person and give them the facts. But when people are upset, even if their being upset is stimulated by a misinterpretation on their part, it really helps if we can empathically connect before correction. When I give some exercises on empathy in groups, I often ask the group to write down an empathic response to some statements I make. And one of the statements I make is to say something in a very emotional way, where the facts upon which I'm basing my emotion are just not accurate. For example, I often do an exercise to get people to see how to empathically connect before they correct. And that might look like this. In the United States, I might ask the group to imagine that I'm an immigrant, recently coming into the United States. And I say, now, write down what you would say back to this immigrant if the immigrant said the following: "I'm really annoyed with you Americans for electing Tony Blair as your president. How could you do that?" And I ask the group to write down an empathic response to that statement. The majority of people want to correct it immediately. They want to say who is the president and point out that Tony Blair is not the president. And then they can see how trained they are to want to correct rather than go to connecting with what's alive in the person. Now, we may want to correct things that we think would help situations by correcting them, but I suggest that learn how to empathically connect before correcting. People then can trust that what you are really valuing is what's alive in them. And when people trust that you value connecting with what's alive in them before it's important to you to correct situations, that has a big impact on relationships. That empathic connection is valued more than correction. Now, this doesn't mean that after the empathic connection we might not want to get the correction. But empathic connection before correction. Keeping intellectual understanding separate from empathic connection, I find is particularly difficult with people who were trained as I was in psychotherapy of a psychoanalytic nature. I was trained to try to help people connect the present problems they're having with things that happened earlier in their life, to get them insights into this. And the people usually found this very interesting and helpful in a certain way. But it took me quite a few years to realize how much more powerful it was for me to empathically connect with them rather than to intellectually analyze how their problems began.